What is up, gamers? So we just have the NBA draft wrapping up today. And here's the draft order. This is the most updated list that I found. There was a bunch of trades, especially in the second round, so some of this is maybe not accurate, but according to everything that I saw on Twitter, this is the most updated list. So we're going to go through this real quick. Before we start with the draft stuff, I just want to say I hate the Chris Paul trade. The Warriors are salary dumping. They're trying to get under the tax. Throwing Patrick Baldwin Jr. into that deal is part of it. I like their 2 draft picks today, I think, but I just felt like it was really bad business doing the trade that they did. I don't mind Chris Paul's fit on the team. I'm really sad that they traded Jordan Poole, man. It sucks, but it is what it is. I maybe talk about that more later. Might make a TikTok on that. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, here's the NBA draft. I'm not going to talk about every pick. We're just going to kind of skip through to my favorite ones from the night, and let's get going. We all know what the Spurs are getting with Wembanyama. There's no need to expand on that. He's, of course, going to be awesome. Didn't like Brandon Miller going number 2. I like Scoot Henderson better. I think Portland made a good choice there, drafting Scoot Henderson. We'll see what they do with Lillard, but regardless of whether he stays or leaves, I think Henderson can be their point guard of the future, so I'd be pretty ecstatic if I was a Blazers fan for him falling down to number 3. The Rockets, I thought, got a pretty good haul here. I like Amen Thompson as the pick, and then all the way down at number 20, Cam Whitmore, a guy that a lot of people had going top 5. Apparently some medical concerns, some red flags raised during the medical process of all this, so there's a reason that he fell down all the way to number 20, but, that's just good value. A guy that some people thought would go as high as number 4 or even number 5, all the way down at number 20, that's good. Anthony Black is a prospect I really liked to Orlando. They're probably going to trade a guard now. There was reports about Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony, maybe one of them being on the way out. I would expect that to happen now that you have Anthony Black on the team. They're pretty guard heavy. Lots of them are young guys. They're probably going to try to free up a roster spot there. So I do like the pick for Orlando, though. Anthony Black, really talented kid. He can really pass it. Good defender. So he plays really hard on both ends. So I like that fit for the Magic, and I really like what they're building in general. Jarris Walker, another guy that I really like. He's going to the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers, another super fun young team. I think he's going to fit right in there. He can slot in at power forward. Really, another guy who's awesome defensively. He knows how to score on the offensive end as well. Another guy who plays hard at both ends. So I like Jarris Walker's fit with the Pacers. They also got a couple of other guys that I like. Ben Shepherd is another prospect that I was really high on. So grabbing him late in the first round I think is another good pick. And then, they got a couple of other guys down in the second round, but those are the 2 that I really liked for them. The Jazz, another team, Taylor Hendricks is another guy that I love. I think I would probably have him higher than this. If I was going to make a big board, I'd maybe even put him top 5. I really like Taylor Hendricks. I think that his skill set in today's NBA is really valuable. A guy, he's super big, he's really strong, super, athletic kid. He can shoot the 3 and he plays defense, and he can, play a small ball 4 or small ball 5. He can mostly play the 4. He can probably guard multiple different positions. I really, really like Taylor Hendricks. I think he's going to fit great in Utah. So another guy that I really like there in the top 10. And then we're also going to talk about Cason Wallace here. These 3 guys in a row, some of my favorite prospects in this draft. Cason Wallace ends up traded to Oklahoma City. This OKC team is going to be a problem, man. They were already, surprising ahead of schedule last season. I think Cason Wallace is going to fit an area of need for them. He can really fit in and help kind of anchor some of their lineups, whether you throw him out there with Josh Giddey or with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, whoever. I think he's going to end up being really good. A bulldog, a guy who can really, really get into the teeth and guard, up and down the lineup there. He's a little bit undersized, but I think he can play above his weight, so to speak. So I really like Cason Wallace getting traded to the Thunder. And they're taking on Davis Bertans as well as part of a trade, in order for them to move up there. That's fine, using your salary cap to take on players like that, being a dumping ground for bad contracts. So really like what the OKC Thunder did tonight as well. And then also really quickly on OKC, another guy that I really like, scrolling down here, it was right here, Keontae Johnson. I know a lot of people were kind of low on him. I saw some experts kind of had him as like an undrafted guy, or he was at one point talked about as a first round prospect, kind of fell out of the first round a little bit. But I really like Keontae Johnson. I was watching some film on him a couple of days ago leading up to this draft, and he really strikes me as a guy who I think can be pretty good. There is some concerns kind of on both ends with his like pull-up jumper not being the best, but if he gets his feet set and he's, spotting up like that, He can be a really good shooter. I think he has a high ceiling as a shooter, especially in a team like OKC. I think he can really find a role there. Also a guy who has good size for his position, pretty good point of attack defender. So I like Keontae Johnson going there as well. Rest of the first round, I think everybody, mostly did pretty all right. There wasn't anything egregious here. I talked about Portland getting Scoot. I think Chris Murray is going to be another good fit there. The other guy, Brandon Podziemski for the Warriors. I'm a Warriors fan. Obviously, I'm going to be optimistic about the pick. I think he's a big time shot maker. The dude, I think he shot 45% from three this year. He's efficient from the mid range as well. Really good passer in the pick and roll. And he plays hard on defense. He's a little bit skinny, so not the best defender right now, but he kind of talked about it. He's excited to learn from Draymond and from GP2 and kind of get to become a better defender as he goes into the NBA. So we'll see if that pans out for him. I think he's kind of a do-it-all guard. The Warriors always got to have one white point guard on their roster. It was DiVincenzo, Nico Mannion, going into Brandon Podziemski now. So I think he can be a good player. I'm excited about the pick. Didn't love some of their other moves today, like I kind of talked about, but I am happy with the fit there at number 19. The Denver Nuggets, a team that really seems to understand the impacts of the new CBA. They're a team that's going to be really expensive, paying a lot of guys a ton of money, of course. Coming off the title run, that's how it's going to work. You're going to be paying a lot of your good players a lot of money, so they have to fill out their depth with draft picks and vet minimum guys and stuff like that because they're going to be right up against that tax. So what they did is traded a bunch of future picks to get into the draft now and draft more experienced players to be able to come in and maybe help them this season or within a couple of years, hopefully, while they still have Jokic and Jamal Murray and keeping this core together. They decided, hey, rather than drafting in 2028, 2029, we're going to kind of use those picks to get into the late first round and the top of the second round tonight, draft some older players, guys that can hopefully be ready and play for us on cost-controlled contracts, right? Cheap contracts, late first round, early second round contracts there. So like what they did, Julian Strawther is a guy who was a big-time shot maker in college, really, really good shooter. I think he can come in and play right away. Also a guy who's played a couple of years in college as well, so that'll fit for them. Jalen Pickett, another longer tenured college player, and then same with Hunter Tyson. So they drafted some veteran college guys who are 22, 23 years old, come in and help them. They clearly understand the ramifications of the new CBA, what that does to roster construction in the modern NBA, and Denver just has a really smart front office. There's a reason they won the title this season, and they're smartly building their roster in a way that's sustainable for them to continue to be good for quite a while. Some other quick hits from the NBA draft. Leonard Miller, a good value there for Minnesota at 33. They had to trade into the draft to get him. I don't think they had a pick, maybe a later second round pick, but traded a couple of future seconds to get up there to 33. Draft Leonard Miller, a guy that a lot of people had a mid first round grade on out of the G League Ignite. I think he has a pretty high ceiling. He could definitely be a guy who busts. Really hard to tell, kind of a boomer bust prospect guy, but good swing for the Timberwolves getting into the draft and moving up there, taking Leonard Miller. One of my favorite prospects, I know he has flaws, but Julian Phillips goes to Chicago, another team that didn't have a pick tonight, but they traded into the draft in order to pick him up. I really, really like Julian Phillips. He's super long, a really, really good point of attack defender. Had some lapses, allowing backdoor cuts and stuff like that. He's not the smartest team defender, but his physical gifts really make up for that. He's also a pretty good finisher around the basket as well. So I like Julian Phillips a lot. He's a guy that I had targeted. If I was going to be drafting in the second round, I would have targeted him there. So good get for the Bulls picking him up. I really like that fit there. Everything else is pretty cut and dry here. I like Ryan Rupert, pretty solid swing there from Portland at 43. He's a guy that could have gone a little bit higher. G.G. Jackson slipping a little bit. Decent value here for Memphis. Anybody else? Imani Bates, he was a super highly touted prospect coming out of high school. Obviously did not have a great college experience, but Cleveland gets him here late in the second round. Maybe he could turn into something. I already talked about Keontae Johnson. Really like the fit there for OKC. All these other guys, nothing crazy here. Trace Jackson Davis, a guy who slipped down. Looks like the Warriors just threw Patrick Baldwin Jr. into the trade in order to grab number 57 here and pick him up. I've seen a lot. I haven't watched a ton of film on him in particular. He's also a 4-year college player. He's 23 years old. Could be maybe more ready to contribute to an NBA setting right away. That's probably what the Warriors are looking for. Good passing big man. He can fit into their system from what I've heard on Twitter so far. Going to watch some film on him after this. But interesting draft for sure. Talked about my favorite fits. I think that the biggest miss for me is Charlotte at number 2. I would have taken Scoot, but other than that, I think everybody else did pretty solid. Nothing to really complain about here. So that's the NBA draft. So yeah, there you go. That's my thoughts on the 2023 NBA draft. We'll be back with some more offseason stuff as things get going here because it's already been a crazy offseason and we're just getting started free agency in about a week or so, a little more than a week. So going to be crazy. We'll be here to talk about all of it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.